Hello, hello, and welcome. This is the Gazette, issue number 6, Love and Relationships. Today, we are talking about why men leave relationships when their issues come up. Ooh, this is a big one. My name is Iworiosa. My temple is Moon Garden Temple. You can find us at moongardentemple.com. And this is my virtual newspaper, Garden Gazette. It comes out weekly. One week we do love and relationships. The other week we do spirit and roots. And today we're obviously doing love and relationships. And I want to address something real quick. I know that on the internet, as soon as you say something, everybody shows up and says, it can't be this, it has to be this, and what are you trying to do? And you're being divisive and all this stuff. Look, I'm going off questions that were asked from workshops that I've done over the years. This question was asked by a woman. Most of the clientele that ask me about this are women, and so I know it's not all men that leave relationships when their issues come up, and I know that it is not specifically about men. However, I'm here speaking to you sisters out there who are dating men who have this experience, whether it's something habitual or something that's happened every once in a while. I'm here to answer to that. So thank you for staying with me and understanding that that is how we're doing this thing today. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that can actually change this experience for you. Surprisingly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on why that men leave relationships when their issues come up, because really I'm more interested in you changing the experience rather than analyzing why they might. First of all, I also want to say, I'm sorry if this is happening to you. It's definitely happened to me in the past, and it's something that's very common in sort of today's dating world, especially, and I say this a lot, in our kind of instant culture where we're swiping a lot and we have a lot of access to a lot of choices, and we are not held accountable necessarily by the community or tribe around us that's helping us govern relationships, that can see everything and that can see how we move in all ways. We're in times right now where the skills and the respect and the honor and integrity in relationships is sort of waning. And so we just need to learn how to navigate that a little differently. Luckily, again, this is something that is pretty easy. Experience is pretty easy to change if it's something that's a pattern in your life, right? So I'll really quickly talk about why men leave relationships when their issues come up. Because they're not acknowledging the issues, because they don't really want to be in relationships, because they're not really that into you, because it's how they're used to doing things, because there's underlying trauma. There's a number of reasons. And to be honest, again, none of these reasons really, it doesn't make sense. It's not the most wise thing to try to figure out why. The most wise thing is to change what your experience is so that this can be a thing of the past. And the first way is to reframe this. Okay, so if your belief is men leave relationships, when their issues come up, get out of that thought pattern. Because just like any thought patterns that we have, if we keep saying them out loud, it becomes a spell. If we keep saying it out loud, or if we keep when we're talking with our friends and we say, oh, that's what men do, if we just decide that that's the reality, then guess what, sister? That's the reality you're gonna experience. And it's also, unfortunately, if you're walking around saying men leave relationships when their issues come up, if that's what you're walking around saying and believing, it's going to happen to you even when it's not happening to you. So you're going to get into a relationship or be dating somebody, and something will happen and you will react as if he is leaving a relationship because his issues came up. And that's not what's happening at all. And it'll have an adverse effect. You could have been in something awesome or nourishing to you, or maybe even something long-term if that's what you're looking for. But because of that belief and the way you reacted, because of that belief, it's repelling the other person or turning the other person off. Right? So change the goggles, right? So the first thing is you got to reframe it. You got to change that hook in your head that this is the truth. And it can be as simple as, in the past, I've dated men who leave when their issues come up. Just that little thing kind of changes the vibration. It changes your attachment to the pattern that this happened over and over again. Another reframe can just be about where you're going, right? I experience men who are excited and interested in being in relationships. That also could be a reframe. Now, those types of reframes sometimes can be triggering, because if you've had like terrible experiences in the past, like sometimes just talking about good stuff in your future, if you're not ready, then it's not necessarily the place to go. That's why I'm offering something about reframing the old thought, or a reframe of an affirmation of what is to come, right? So, find your way to reframe it, just as long as you're not staying in, this is how men are, right? Because here's the other thing. When you hold on to these thoughts of men leave relationships when their issues come up, when you hold on to thoughts like that, you also will attract other of your own thoughts about negativity around men and relationships, but you also attract other people who have these negative experiences. I can share with you that in one of my lowest moments in dating and experiencing that whole world of is this a thing, or what does this mean? He texted me this and I don't know, and being in a relation, looking for a relationship, I got into a point where there had been patterns that were really difficult for me, and I had some really limiting beliefs around men and relationships and myself in relationships. And at that time, I was really thinking like I could only attract men who were, schizophrenic, drug addicts, narcissistic, manipulative. Like there was a whole era. I've talked about this a lot, but there was a whole era of my life where I felt like every man I interact with is really mentally unhealthy. And that was I started to think like, oh, I guess maybe all men are kind of like that, And I was starting to believe that. And I was on the phone with somebody, and she was talking about an experience that she had that was separate from my own. And at the end, she goes, I hate men. Now, I rarely ever use that word, the word hate. It repels me. I am very conscientious about when I use that word, if at all. And when she said it, it woke something up in me. It touched all of that negativity, all of the pain and all of the wounding that I had around my experience with men. And in that moment, I was like, that's true. I hate men too. And it was devastating to feel that. It was, and I'm here to say that if I had not spent so much time in my thoughts about my experiences and really being hurt and feeling all of the truths that I had made up in my head, which weren't truths, about how men are all sick and terrible, if I had not spent time on that, then when she said, I hate men, I would not have been ignited in that way. And it took me some months to kind of like unravel, and some healing and some ceremony really to unravel that, because it was so devastating, but I felt like it was real and I felt like it was true, and I didn't want to feel like it was true, and I knew intellectually that it wasn't, but it had woken up some vibration in me, and I inside I was willing to hold on to that thought. So this, I'm telling you, that reframe, it might sound simple, but if you can turn around your reframes that are negative, especially around, men leave relationships when they have issues, it will help you so much in the long run. Okay, so the second is let them go. If in your life men are leaving relationships, this goes for men, it goes for collaborators, it goes for friends, whatever. If they are leaving your life, because I'm holding my camera because I have a cat who's really interested in the lens right now. If you have people in your life, men in your life, who are leaving because their issues come up, please give them the space to do it, okay? Because this is the thing, you're not their therapist, you're not their counselor, you're not the one, it's not your job to fix whatever the issue is, that's their job. And that's something that you want in a relationship, like foundationally in a relationship, someone who can deal with their own stuff. Someone who can say, oh, I'm realizing something's off about me, I'm off balance, or I'm not feeling well about this, or there's some old traumas coming up. I need to deal with it. I can share it with you and let you know what's going on. I can let you know this is why I'm down. I can, take the space that I need, but it is not your job. Don't let somebody project their stuff onto you. A lot of times I see women, like, they see men going into these ways with their issues, and they're not acknowledging it or aware of it, or dealing with it. And so the women just want to fix everything and take everything on and absorb everything. It's not sustainable in a relationship. I'm telling you, I talk to a lot of women who go through divorces and ending of long-term relationships. A lot of the women I work with are like in their late 30s and their 40s. They've had time to go through like these long-term relationships and divorces. And I can say that like 70-80% of them, one of the biggest reasons that they did not stay in the relationship was because they were with somebody who they're with a man who did not deal with his issues. It rotted their marriages, it rotted their relationships. So let them go. Okay, let them go, figure it out on their own. Also, if you're in an experience where you have somebody who projects a lot, a man who projects a lot, a man who sort of makes his issue about you rather than dealing with his own stuff, then that's going to emotionally affect your self-esteem. Okay, so let them go. And if they're not going, get away so they can deal with their own stuff. And that goes too for, not just for dating and relationships that are, you don't live together, but like if you live together and if you're married, or if you're in, a long-term, you're bonded together and you have assets together, and not just like, money assets, but I just mean like, you see families together and, you're really intertwined, right? That's also a reason to let them go. Even more so, let them go. Don't allow whatever their issues are to fill all the space of your home, to fill all of your emotional energy and bandwidth, to take up all the space. Let him go and deal with it, and also observe. Because sometimes we're in awesome relationships where he has the issues and he's like, I need my space, I gotta go away. Observe how he deals with it, and does he come back better? Does he come back more aware? Does he come back more involved? Or does he go away and avoid and prescribe, does he prescribe something so that he doesn't have to deal with it? Does he distract? What does he do when he goes away, when his issues come up, to deal with his issues? Observe and see, is this something that we need to have a different conversation about, so that your issues don't just continue to rot away at you, but also like the foundation of our partnership. So let them go. Okay. And I'll tell you, all of you out there dating and everything, oftentimes when a man just goes away, it's a favor. Oftentimes you have dodged a big bullet. Okay. So just allow it to go away. Also mention here, full moon, our ancestor moon, our spirit moon, is here to help us let go. You're not here doing everything alone, okay? You're not here braving this life with all the desires of your heart by yourself. There are spirits and ancestors. There's energies here to help you at all times. You're never alone. And one of the best ways to sort of touch into that is to work with the moon, especially women, because the moon has the ebbs and flows and the seasons. And we have those kinds of clocks within us where we have an ebb and flow of different seasons of what our hormones and our bodies and our reactions to the moon experience. So check out the full moon season, 3 days before and 3 days after, and the full moon. It's the best time to let go of what you don't need. So if you're having trouble letting go of a person, letting go of a relationship, ask the full moon to help you. And as always, you can follow me on social media. I try to post a full moon reading, like a little short full moon reading every full moon phase. So check that out. Follow me on social media so you can see that. So let them go. The third thing is, my friends, get clear on what you want before you start dating, before you get bonded to somebody, before you enter into relationships. Now, I know a lot of people are like, wait. Don't you have to be in relationships to figure out what you want? Okay. Maybe I don't feel like this is controversial, but I don't see it a lot. You can draw on all of your relationships to figure out what you want in like that loving partnership relationship. I had a client once who was in her 50s. She had never been in a long-term relationship. She had maybe dated a few people, a couple months at a time in all of her life. She spent a lot of time taking care of her family. Her family took up a lot of her time. So when she came to me, she wanted to see if there's a chance, and I can tell you, no matter what age you are, there's always opportunity for you to experience relationship. And her thing was like, I don't know, how am I going to know what I want if I've never really experienced a lot of being with, a man in my life? Friends, you can look at your family relationships. You can look at your friend relationships and your collaborator relationships. There are things for her. One of the things where she started was like, oh, one of the things I love about my sisters is that if I'm going through a really hard time, they're there for me without like projecting their stuff. They actually they'll spend time holding a space for me where it's not about them or turning the story back to them. They're always there to hold my hand and like just to be there for me. And that has been the most healing thing, because it helps me let go of like wanting to be a caretaker, which she was for most of her life. And it helps me just know that in this moment it can be about me, and it's okay for me to be hurt, or it's okay for me to go through this process, and I'm held. Okay. That's something that she knew she wanted in a relationship with a man. So she wrote it down on her list, right? So please don't think that you have to be in a whole bunch of relationships or date a whole bunch and by the way, she did find a relationship. She did get married to somebody. That's what she wants. Not everybody wants to get married, but that's what she wanted. And she felt like that time passed for her. So please don't think that you have to go and swipe right on every single person so that you can get the experience. It's not necessary. You can draw from relationships in your life. You can draw from relationships that you don't have. You can have a couple in your life that you love so much and you spend time with, and you know, love and trust and you respect. And there can be some aspect in their relationship that you go, I love that. That's important to me. I'm feeling in my heart that is something that that the way that he respects her when she is, needs a space for herself to be alone and do her thing and be independent. He respects that he gives her that space, right? You see that and you go, yeah, I want that for myself too, right? So get really clear on what it is that you want before you start getting into even dating, and here's the other thing. Not everybody wants to get married with children. Right? Some of us are in polyamorous relationships. Some of us want to have lovers that we can know, like, love, and respect and get and receive that in return. Right? Some of us just want to have a nourishing, awesome dating life where we can figure out if we even want to be in a long-term relationship. If that's you, then get clear on that. Don't date and then get into a relationship with somebody you don't really want to be in a relationship with because you weren't really looking for that. You were just looking to clearly be in the exploration of dating, right? I just want to explore and feel good about my experiences. Maybe it will change later to now I am looking for my one, or I want to get married to my best friend. And then what does that look like? So these are the three things that you want to get really clear on if you want to change the experience of men in your life who leave when their issues come up. One is the reframe. Can't believe in that anymore. You got to change it. Two is you got to let them go. Whether you're in the relationship with them or it's, whether you're married or living with them or you're just dating, you got to just let them go. Let them go do their thing and observe if they're close to you. And the third thing is you always want to know exactly what it is that you're looking for and how you want to proceed in your relationship life before you get there, right? And here's one last tip. If what you used to believe is that men leave relationships when their issues come up, then think about what the opposite of that is and include that on your list. Include that on your list of what you want in a relationship, right? Before you go out there. So to me, the opposite would be right off the top of my head would be like the man that I want to attract deals with his issues in a healthy way, in a way where it feels balanced, in a way that he is responsible for his own feelings. And when he knows he needs help, he goes to a professional or he goes to ceremony or whatever it is, he goes to some sort of source or element that can really help him with it. And he is continuously evolving, right? So these are the things that will change that experience. Maybe it's easier said than done, but I know that if you engage with these three things, that will not be the pattern for you anymore. So thank you for tuning in to the Garden Gazette. Again, this is issue number 6, Love and Relationships. I really appreciate you subscribing to the Garden Gazette and, you know, sharing these little nuggets of wisdom within your own life and with other people. You know, the landscape of our world is so much better when women are happy and enjoying life and experiencing love. So thank you again. My name is Iworiosa. Be blessed.